On the 10th of May 2025, the world woke up to alarming headlines. India launched missile attacks on 3 airports in Pakistan, and Pakistan responded with its own missile salvo. Your Lantia. This tension has brought South Asia to the brink of war. Airports in both countries were closed. Civilians in the border regions began to flee. And world powers like America and China are engaged in a conflict of interest here. So, why did these two nuclear-powered neighbors fall out again? We will explore the roots of this conflict from the past to the present and historically examine why these two nuclear powers are so hostile to each other. On May 6, 2025, the tension between India and Pakistan turned into an open conflict. India, with an attack named Operation Sindoor, targeted the so-called terrorist infrastructures in Pakistan and in the Pakistan-administered Kashmir, meaning Azad Kashmir. The Indian army stated that 9 targets were hit and carefully avoided Pakistani military facilities. However, Pakistan painted a different picture. Islamabad reported that civilian areas had been hit, and as of the 8th of May, 31 people had been killed and 57 injured. The Pakistan army quickly retaliated and claimed to have shot down 5 Indian fighter jets and 1 unmanned aerial vehicle. By the 10th of May, the situation had escalated further. India launched missile attacks on 3 airports in Pakistan: Nurhan near Islamabad, Murid and Shorkot in Punjab. Pakistan retaliated and struck Suratgarh, Sirsa, Bathinda and Akhnur airports in India. The Pakistan Air Force even claimed to have destroyed India's S-400 air defense system with a hypersonic missile, accused each other of violating the fragile ceasefire agreed upon days earlier. The conflict disrupted civilian life. Pakistan closed its airspace for 48 hours. India, on the other hand, halted operations at 24 airports until May 15th. Schools in Kashmir were closed and civilians were evacuated. World leaders took action to intervene. United States President Donald Trump announced a ceasefire agreement on May 11th. Both countries initially accepted this. However, they soon accused each other of violations. China, an ally of Pakistan, and the G7 called for de-escalation. The United Nations warned that a war between these nuclear powers could be disastrous.
Found. So why do these conflicts keep recurring? For this, we need to go back to the roots of this rivalry. Let's go to the year 1947, when the Indian subcontinent was under British colonial rule. After nearly 200 years of British rule, the independence movement had become unstoppable. However, there was a problem. The region was deeply divided along religious lines. The Indian National Congress, led by Jawaharlal Nehru, wanted a united India. Under the leadership of Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the Muslim League, fearing exclusion in a Hindu-majority state, demanded a separate homeland for Muslims.
In August 1947, the British hastily divided the subcontinent into 2 nations, Hindu-majority India and Muslim-majority Pakistan, which was split into West and East Pakistan. This division was a logistical and humanitarian disaster. Borders were drawn within weeks. Communities, farms, and even homes were divided. More than 15 million people were displaced. Communal violence cost up to 2 million lives. The wounds of partition still shape India-Pakistan relations today. However, the biggest point of conflict was Kashmir.
This princely state, with a Muslim-majority population but ruled by a Hindu monarch, Maharaja Hari Singh, turned into a battlefield. Singh wanted to remain independent. However, Pakistan expected Kashmir to join it due to the Muslim population. In October 1947, when tribal militias from Pakistan invaded, Singh requested help from India and agreed to join India. This triggered the First Indian-Pakistani War. By 1948, after intense fighting, a ceasefire was achieved with the intervention of the United Nations.
India controls approximately two-thirds of Kashmir, including the Jammu and Kashmir Valley, while Pakistan holds the western third, known as Azad Kashmir, and the northern regions. The line of control, or LOC, was established as the de facto border. The United Nations called for a plebiscite for the Kashmiris to determine their own future. However, this never happened. Kashmir became the heart of the India-Pakistan hostility. Kashmir was not a one-time dispute. It fueled multiple wars. In 1965, Pakistan launched Operation Gibraltar, an infiltration operation into Kashmir to start an uprising against Indian rule. This backfired. India retaliated, and the Second Indo-Pakistani War broke out. After weeks of conflict, the United Nations ceasefire restored the status quo. However, trust between the two countries has completely vanished. The biggest blow came in 1971. However, this time Kashmir was not the main issue. East Pakistan, separated by 1,600 miles from Indian territory, was in turmoil. The Bengali population, feeling oppressed by West Pakistan, demanded independence. India supported the Bengali rebels, and after the brutal crackdown by the Pakistani army, millions of refugees fled to India. In December 1971, India intervened, and the Third Indo-Pakistani War began. In just 13 days, the Indian army defeated Pakistan's forces in the east. East Pakistan became an independent nation named Bangladesh. Pakistan lost half of its population and territory. This was a humiliation that deepened its rivalry with India. The 1972 Simla Agreement tried to stabilize relations. However, the Kashmir issue remained unresolved. By the time the 1990s arrived, both countries had become nuclear powers. India in 1974, Pakistan in 1998. This increased the risks. In 1999, the Kargil War erupted when Pakistani soldiers and militants infiltrated Indian-administered Kashmir. The Indian army pushed them back. However, the conflict showed how close the two countries were to nuclear war. Loche became a constant hotspot with artillery fire and clashes. Now, let's go back to 2025. The trigger for this last conflict was a terrorist attack on the 22nd of April in Pahalgam, Kashmir, where 26 people were killed, 25 of whom were Indian and 1 Nepali. India blamed Pakistan-based militants and launched Operation Sindoor on the 6th of May. The attacks on Pakistani airports and Pakistan's counter-attacks reflect the cycle of retaliation seen in 2016 and 2019. However, the scale of targeting civilian infrastructure like airports indicates a dangerous escalation. So Kashmir continues to be a core issue. While India views it as an integral part, Pakistan demands a plebiscite. Both sides militarize the line of control, and cross-border shelling is common. In 2025, drones and cyber attacks allegedly targeting India's power grid by Pakistan add a new dimension. The nuclear arsenals of both countries, with 172 warheads in India and 170 in Pakistan, make de-escalation critical. Global dynamics also play a role. While China supports Pakistan, the United States leans towards India. This was seen in April 2025 in the statement of support by FBI Director Kash Patel. Still, the United States and China pushed for the ceasefire on the 11th of May. This indicates that the world fears a nuclear conflict. The Indus Waters Treaty is another issue. Pakistan characterizes India's water diversion threats as an act of war. So where does this leave us? The India-Pakistan rivalry, born from the chaos of 1947, fueled by Kashmir and growing with nuclear weapons, shows no sign of abating. The 2025 crisis reminds us that peace in South Asia is hanging by a thread. Currently, diplomats are working to maintain the ceasefire. However, if the Kashmir water disputes and mutual distrust are not resolved, history may repeat itself.